On this module, let's review the various screen options that are available. Media 360 has many different formats, as you can see from this summary. Let's start out with our portrait single. This is typically a 39 or 40 inch high definition TV, although any size TV can be used, and it does not have to be a smart TV. I would say that the ad on this portrait screen compares to a full-page ad in a high-end magazine, such as Phoenix Magazine or So Scottsdale. As you can see, here's a recent example of So Scottsdale. And I pulled one of the full-page ads from inside, which this one happens to be a realtor. One of our main objectives is to provide high-quality ads, especially when you compare it to the competition. So let's look at some additional examples. Now, as a sidebar, we used to offer half-page ads, but we don't do that anymore because we haven't found it that effective. Our original thought is that we were going to hit capacity and we would need to be concerned about having more ads up there. But at this juncture, it's not necessary. This is giving you an idea of how that single-page portrait would have been divided. Let's talk about one of our other models, which we refer to as our media wall. So this is typically a 55 or 60-inch TV there in the middle, which shows live TV, typically a sports station or whatever it may be. And then we have that flanked by two screens portrait style, which will either be a 32-inch or a 39-inch that butt up against that. Typically, we use the media walls in our higher traffic areas such as sports bars or fitness centers. Now, the cost of the equipment is more, sometimes running 2 to 3 times what it would cost for a single portrait. But the traffic warrants the additional equipment because of the additional exposure and the additional ad revenue that it would generate. And the media wall format is often used in our signature host sites. I thought it might be helpful to review one of our old models, which we refer to as the LBar model. As you can see, it has live content there in the middle and is flanked by a banner ad at the bottom and a tower ad on the side, and then, of course, a smaller ad there in the middle. But there are issues with the LBar format. The biggest issue is what we call rebroadcasting. And we find it interesting that there are a number of competitors out there who actually use this LBar format in reformatting or what is called recasting the image. So in effect, they take the full screen and shrink it down and then add the advertisements around the side. Competitors such as Slayer 360 and others use this format, and their argument is that, well, we didn't change the picture, we just made it smaller. However, although there are no specific court cases about the LBar format that we're familiar with, there are other court cases out there, such as the Flying J, where they showed live TV, but then when a commercial popped up, they had a censor that substituted their commercials in its place, and then it would switch back to the live TV. And on that outcome, Flying J lost. There's also the Aereo court case. In this case, each customer had their own signal over the internet with a dime-sized antenna. The cost to the consumer was very attractive, starting out at $8 a month. It was estimated that the TV stations were going to lose about $3 billion a year. And this case went all the way to the Supreme Court, but unfortunately Aereo lost. There are likely many other cases out there. But our position is that we don't need to push the envelope. Why put our host sites at risk or our franchisees at risk or Media 360 or, for that matter, why put anybody at risk? Let's move on to one of our other models, which we refer to as our landscape model. This was designed for host sites that wanted some form of content showing on their TV, as well as being designed for host sites that wanted to eliminate their cable bill. So the landscape model is typically a 50, 55, or 60-inch high-definition TV. We can divide the screen up in any number of ways and place any desired content in those designated areas. So as an example, it's not untypical for us to have the equivalent of our portrait single over on the right-hand side. Then we would have the content in the purple area, and then have some other form of advertisement or other content in the red areas. Whatever the business wanted. We could even have their menu showing. Or sports content. We also have another model that we refer to as our kiosk. It was originally designed for a school, but it can actually be placed anywhere. The typical kiosk has a 50 or 55-inch TV turned portrait, and at the schools, the kiosk is wheeled out where the kids are dropped off and picked up from school each day. Advertising is weaved in with caution signs and school announcements on the screen, and this gives you an idea of what the kiosk would look like. As I mentioned, the kiosk was originally designed for school. The kiosk could then be wheeled up to a classroom during the day, turned landscape, and used in that classroom for teaching. And it could also be wheeled throughout the school for other events. As a sidebar, we placed this version on hold. You have issues such as the elements and weather, the inconvenience of wheeling it in and out every day, as well as the sun often made it hard to read the screen. But the real message here is that we're wide open for new ideas. We were not even 9 months old and we had 4 models already deployed, with many others that we had developed and set on the sidelines. For example, we have another model that's in taxis. We have tablets that are placed on the back side of a headrest in 1,000 cabs here in Phoenix. And those tablets and the advertising on those tablets have a fully engaged audience that are not going anywhere until their cab ride ends. So the real message here is that we're wide open for new ideas. We're currently looking at another model that would go in hotel lobbies and serve as a concierge. We are constantly looking for new directions and new ways to improve. Yes, we want to be careful not to get too distracted, but in many cases we find these new ideas actually enhance the old ideas and sometimes even lead us to better ideas.